statistics that have come out since the referendum showed that amongst the 18 to 24-year-old group, 75% voted Remain. They were by far the biggest category, and as you went down the age ranges, it was the older you got, the less likely they were to vote to stay in the EU. And as you say, it was very much a vote about our future as a country. And I supported, the Labour Party supported 16-year-olds have the right to vote. I mean, if you look particularly at Scotland, and Scotland was the one place, that overwhelmingly voted for Remain, you had young people that were able to vote on the future of Scotland, whether in the independence referendum, and some of them would then have turned 18 and been able to vote on Thursday, but there would have been others that will then have the vote taken away from them, if you like. So I had a niece that turned 16 on Thursday, and that would have been a brilliant way to celebrate her 16th birthday, to actually go out and vote for her future as a citizen of this country, and obviously she was denied that right. So yeah, I think 16 and 17-year-olds would have voted to stay massively. I think they should be entitled to get the vote in, not just in this referendum, which is very much about their future, but in general election, in all elections. And you get some people say, well, 16-year-olds don't know enough about politics, and it's true. Some are not that politically aware. Other people, like yourselves, clearly are. And you have people, as we've seen, if you analyse the reasons why people voted Leave or Remain. Not everybody's an expert. Not everybody knows exactly where they're coming from politically, but I think in a democracy everyone has the right to express their view, no matter how much you might disagree with it. And yeah, so that's the one thing about 16 and 17-year-olds should have been able to vote. On the environment in the campaign, yeah, I was really frustrated. I was on the steering group of cross-party organisations, Environmentalists for Europe. We had people like Stanley Johnson, Boris's dad, who is much better than Boris, as Chloe said, but he was an MEP and he works for the European Commission. He knows the nature directives, the birds and habitats directives back to front, really passionate about the environment. He was on there. John Selwyn-Gummer, who was a Tory Environment Secretary, who did some good things in that role, was on there, and a range of other people as well. And we tried to get it up there. We were on Brighton Beach together, talking about how the Bathing Water Directive meant that you were no longer swimming in sewage when you went into the seas in this country. Things like the clean air laws, and the government is currently being taken to court by an organisation called Client Earth for breaching EU clean air laws. Now, just out here, and here is the worst. Sadiq Khan has actually talked about pedestrianising Oxford Street, because it's basically a tunnel through which filthy air circulates. It's really, these people walking down here have no idea that their lungs are being poisoned by the air in Oxford Street. And next month is the 60th anniversary of the Clean Air Act in the UK. Actually, Laura Sands, who was heading up the Environmentalists for Europe, was a Conservative MP. Her father was the Tory MP that introduced the Clean Air Act. And I think we need a new Clean Air Act to address the massive problem of air pollution in this country. As I said, it was frustrating the environment wasn't a key part of the campaign. I was told that our polling on the Labour side showed that when you asked people about their concerns, it wasn't up there. Now, I think partly it wasn't up there because it wasn't being spoken about, so people didn't realise the extent to which the EU is relevant to our environment. So things like the Birds and Habitats Directives, things like the special conservation areas, farmers, the NFU eventually came out, and they will be extremely worried now as to what's going to happen to their subsidies, because farming is not viable in this country without EU subsidies. So many issues in which the EU is key, and I think it partly wasn't up there because it wasn't being spoken about, and if we had been spoken about it more, we would have been able to enthuse people and got them to come out and campaign. I'm hugely disappointed by the result yesterday. I sort of entirely sympathise and empathise with you. I mean, we're going to be in a really uncertain political climate, but perhaps we let someone else get a word in edgeways, and perhaps get on to that and to what it means for the Badger Coal campaign and for a lot of the other environmental issues that we need to address.
Appreciate that. We are going to talk about the Badger Coal in a bit more detail in a few moments, but a few other points I just wanted to bring up with you, you've raised, Georgia, which might resonate with some of the rest of the audience. Putting the politics of the referendum aside, this sort of view that young people maybe just don't take as much interest in wildlife and nature as they should. You know, when I grew up, we were talking earlier on, weren't we, about what inspired you to write your book and what's got me to do the work I do these days. And I remember as a child, I was sort of running through brooks and climbing trees and, you know, looking at frogs and things like that. And you were directly connected with nature because you were outside in the countryside or outside, even in, you know, suburban areas. You're interacting with it regularly. We live in a society now, 30 years, 40 years since I was a child, and obviously parents are much more concerned about where their children are all the time. There's less access to the countryside, there's less areas they can go to. They're more inclined to be inside looking at screens in a visual world and being disconnected from what's going on. But at the same time, the threats of today are bigger than ever before. Here at home and abroad, you know, wildlife can be disappearing in front of our eyes. I just wondered what you thought about that, and you talk to people of your age group. Do they look at you as being a bit odd, or do they feel inspired by what you do? How do they feel about it?
So, I think all growing up through primary school and high school, I think it was isolated because my friends did have similar interests, and I was classed as a bit odd for sort of being interested in something that wasn't classed as being normal. It wasn't going out at the weekend with my friends, it wasn't going shopping, it was going out onto my patch, taking photographs, watching wildlife, and wanting to go on holiday to local to reserves up and down the country. So talking to children my own age is really difficult. They understand they understand some issues. They're willing to understand, but they don't. Then they've already got their interests. They've already got their interests there. They're already going with that, and they don't see that their input into the environment will help, perhaps. But talking to younger children is a lot easier because they're just fascinated by it. They're easily enthused and they're easily surprised. And the way of getting through to teenagers my age, and also if young people are going to grow up with this interest when they get into high school, that we call like the social norm of doing what everybody else does, it goes away and it's difficult to keep it there. I mean, for a few years I lost it. I didn't really. I sort of got lost in the hoop, and I sort of slipped through the net, and I didn't keep I sort of went with my friends rather than what I was passionate about, and I regret doing that. But yeah, it's a key way of getting through to young people. I mean, the ways I've done this is through mental health, so you're saying that getting outside is a great way of helping with mental health issues, and obviously it's on the rise of young people with mental health issues. So it's sort of finding ways to get through and finding ways that they can realise that it's growing a passion, being interested, which is what in the end, in the term, leads to doing something, taking action, whether that's big, small, doing something with their career or so on. And the point you make about around problems now, we say like older generations, they played outside and they grew that connection, they grew that passion, and some have taken, and there has been a lot of action taken. There's a lot of sort of fantastic conservationists out there, there's a lot of campaigners that are making change, that have made change, and also just ordinary people that see it and realise, oh, that's terrible. But with the small amount of young, but it still goes on, with the small amount of young people nowadays connected properly, what's that going to bring to the future when they're older and we've got these issues worsening, when we've been even more ignorant and oblivious to large-scale issues and problems?